But first tonight, Monica Wood grew up in Mexico, Maine, a small town next to Rumford, and she has gone on to write novels, plays, and an acclaimed memoir. Her new book is called How to Read a Book. More on that unusual title in a little bit.
This is a work of fiction, but it has some roots in what Monica Wood has done in her own life. You could not have written this book if it were not for an experience that you have had yourself, and that is teaching writing to women who were incarcerated at the state prison in Windham.
Correct.
What did you come away from that experience with?
You know, if you ever want to feel deeply appreciated, volunteer in a prison. These women were thirsty for literature. They were like any other book group, except I felt they were more invested because they didn't really have a lot else to do. Prison is boring. That is the first thing that they say. Prison is really, really boring. And to have, books are transporting, right? They bring you someplace else. And that's the experience I had and that they had. Two of the characters in the book have a prison connection. One has just finished serving time for a drunk driving conviction. The other, as you mentioned, runs the book club in the prison. Was the experience that you tapped into your knowledge of having worked with a writing club in the prison, was that something that came easily, that flowed easily into the book, or did you have to struggle with that? No, and it's funny, it was a while ago now, but the experience stayed with me so deeply, and I never intended to write about. I've never written about my experience there. It's not surprising that I would give my character that role as somebody who volunteered in a prison. But the characters aren't based on anybody I worked with, but I think the emotional tenor of those scenes are very much what I felt when I was working there. The other main character in the book is a guy who is a handyman of sorts, and to learn more about his world, you attended a machining and manufacturing class for one semester at Southern Maine Community College. Yeah, it was me and 12 19-year-old boys. And you did it, and our teacher. You did it specifically to learn about that world so that you could write more accurately about that character. Yeah. I'm really impressed with your commitment. My father-in-law was a machinist, and my husband, Dan, who teaches at SMCC, he hooked me up with the machine guys. So I knew something about the world of machinists, but I'd never stood at a milling machine or a lathe or even held a piece of metal with intention, And so those are all the little things that I feel I need to have the authority to create this character whose name is Frank Daigle. And there were little things like standing at a machine for 4 hours at a time is hard on the body. That's something I didn't know.
One day the class left the SMCC campus and went on a field trip to a machine shop where Monica Wood had a memorable encounter with a guy who worked there.
I kind of went over, it was us and our teacher, and then I kind of veered off and I looked at him, I said, "Excuse me, can I ask you a question?" And he says, "Can I ask you a question?" He goes, "What the hell are you doing here?" It was really funny, but it was great. I love doing that kind of research. You write in the acknowledgments at the end of the book kind of an autumnal note, sort of hinting that this might be your last novel, but that you actually sort of thought that about the previous novel. Yeah. So how come you're thinking about? And now that I think about it, I think I thought that about the one before that as well. So maybe it's just part of the process. It's like, okay, never again. This is so hard. Mostly I think it's the time that it takes, so much time. And, as I've gotten older, I'm thinking, is this really how I want to spend all my time writing? And so far the answer is yes, but I don't know. I'm thinking I don't want to work as hard as I used to. One of the other things that you write in the acknowledgments of the book is a really heartfelt note of gratitude to your readers. Oh, yeah. You really treasure them, don't you? Oh my goodness, I love my readers. I love getting out. I can't wait to get out on the road and start meeting readers again. I really love meeting people who've read my books and who, sometimes they quote me to myself, which is the most precious thing. So yeah, I mean, without my readers, what's the point?
It's kind of like us with our viewers. Without our viewers, what's the point?
Truly, truly. I'm just thinking about her in class with 19 other guys.
19-year-olds.
19-year-olds, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh, so funny.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So, as we mentioned, there is a story behind the title, How to Read a Book. As she was working on the novel, and it took about 2 years to write, Monica Wood planned on calling it Meanwhile. She took the idea to the various people at the company that would publish the book, and here's what happened.
You know, everything goes through sales and marketing now, and they're like, no. They did the same thing with my last book. They said, we're not going to sell a book called Meanwhile. It sounds too quiet and literary, and I love titles like that. And they said, we would like something that, it seems these days that if something has book in it in the title, readers are more likely to pick it up. So I'm like, you have got.
What does that say about the book buying public?
I do not know, but there you go. So I thought, all right, this is stupid. But then I started thinking about it, and I thought, what about how to read a book? This is, there's a woman who runs the prison book club, and she's teaching. She's a retired English teacher, and she's teaching these women, in a way, how to read a book, how to think of characters as fellow creatures, how to look at things like structure, and I thought, I can live with this. And then once I started living with it, I thought, this is the perfect title for this book. So, but that is how it happened.
That's a good story.
I don't know, like, what?
We're going to change the name of this to the 207 TV program in hopes that it will draw more people.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Meanwhile, Monica Wood will be talking about how to read a book at an event at the Rumford Public Library tomorrow evening. It's at 7 o'clock, and it's going to be a special evening for her since she grew up right next door.
Thursday evening, she'll be at Left Bank Books in Belfast, and in the months ahead, she has nearly 30 appearances scheduled in Maine from York to Fort Kent. You'll find a list of dates and places in the 207 section of our app and website. Coming up next,